I get those goosebumps every time.
I just have to get the big fella off the bench.
Could this be their last chance now? In it comes, Monster to the front! He scored! Ali Monster scored!
I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too numb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need that line to throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713 through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? I'm riding. Sipping low key and hiding. I get those goosebumps every time. I'm around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those times. I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype.
Good evening. Welcome to Loaded Mag in UFC.
Yeah, fuck off.
Yeah, fuck off, Sideshow Bob, and take your Tango Oscar Delta with you, or whatever you're at, Oscar Bob. And Kevin De Bruyne. Okay, let's start. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, we're here to talk about that game and what could possibly have been so close and yet so far away. Thanks, Kevin De Bruyne. Pete, how are you?
Yeah, other than being just frustrated, really. Other than being frustrated, like I'm good. Family's good. I had a good day. Chilling at the weekend after our first week back, but feeling a little bit frustrated after that game. I'm not gonna lie.
Chris?
Yeah, the key word's frustration, isn't it? Do you know what? I did for a little while. I thought we were going to get something from that. Kind of came back to reality. Came back down to reality in the second half. Not going to lie, and it was a little bit back to the wall. And then obviously when the substitution ball came up and Mr. De Bruyne came on, I was a little bit nervous. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, just frustrated. But I'm sure we'll get into why, boys. But yeah, other than that, I'm all good. It's been a nice day. And yeah, I've been looking forward to coming on with you boys this evening, hopefully to celebrate a win, but obviously it's not been the case.
I was looking forward to that celebration so bad, but no, it was not to be. But it wasn't all bad. Like we put in a great performance. Yeah, we did run out of steam, and has been there's a theme there, and we don't have anyone that suitable to switch it up in games. But there's definitely we're back in some senses, and I look forward to the next games. And the revenge tour that Pete has talked about so fondly as well. Well, let's get into it. Let's look at the squads and the teams that took the pitch and walk through the game. So first up here is the Newcastle team. So Tino out ill. He would have been handy, to bring on as well, or even to start in this game. But credit to the lads that did start. But Tino off the bench would have been quality, and J7 obviously out injured, going to be missing for about 6 weeks or so. Lads, what did you think of the team? And I'll show you the City team as well. But yeah, Pete, your thoughts on the starting lineup?
Who else have we got?
Yeah.
Who else have we got? You look at that bench. We'll talk about it in a bit. We pick the team as it is. It picks itself.
Chris, would you have signed anyone to alter that bench or alter that team?
I wouldn't have minded having Calvin Phillips on the bench. I'm not going to lie. But unfortunately, he was on the Man City bench today. But yeah, I mean, it's exactly as we predicted on the match preview with LB. And if you haven't checked that out already, I've give it a watch actually, because even though we were obviously talking about the Man City game, we did get into all things FFP, and we were talking about Premier League and how corrupt it is and stuff like that. So you know, we did have a really good discussion, myself, Pete, and LB. But
No,
yeah, in terms. Oh, sorry, Dad, go on, mate.
no, you did actually, because I watched that back, and there's a good 20-minute discussion there. Great points from LB, and great discussion with you guys as well. I know I give you kudos for that already, but no, it was a great discussion. So I would recommend that, even that segment alone, worth a watch.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, in terms of lineup, as Pete said, we haven't really got anybody else, unfortunately. And then when I saw the City lineup, as soon as I seen Doku playing, I just thought, oh no. I wasn't looking forward to seeing Doku, Foden, Alvarez, Bernardo, Rodri, Kovacic. The list goes on. So yeah, today was always going to be a big ask. Always going to be a big ask. But I don't know. I still had that little nagging feeling. I don't know. Still had that little nagging feeling we could get something. So that's how I was pre-match.
Cool. That's good. Great display for Fabian Schär as well, who signed an extension to his contract. So that was a nice touch from Warflags as well. But let's get into the game, because there's action straight from the kickoff, really. Ball in the net from Newcastle. Of course, VAR did rule it out. Didn't hear too much, actually. He didn't even say that it ruled out, but you knew it was ruled out. Longstaff was involved there. Edison went down, no goal, obviously. Edison was injured. Then, right after that, Edison stayed on the pitch, but he a bad pass out, and Bruno should try to take a shot, kind of mishit his shot, but he really should have passed it. Isak was there waiting, and Newcastle should have capitalized on that. Obviously, Edison came off them, but we're going to go to that part first. And for me, we weren't ruthless enough in that situation, and we should have just finished it. Bruno should have passed it. But Chris, we go to your thoughts on that one first, that incident.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it just preceded the goal that was ruled offside, and it was offside, to be fair. But it really raised the crowd, and you could tell the players were really sensing that Edison wasn't quite right for the start, but also that there was an opportunity there. And little scuffle around the box, bobbled between a couple of players. I'm trying to think, was it Longstaff? It might have been Longstaff, and then I think it went to Bruno. And if Bruno had just looked up and just looked about 6 yards to his right, he had a player there just to put the ball in the net, because obviously Edison was out the picture. But Bruno, I understand to a degree. I understand why he's took a swing at it, because he knows Edison's out the game, so he's thinking, I'll just get a foot on it and score. And he just clips it with his toe, and then it just bobbles. And then obviously the chance is gone then, because City clear it up. The players get back, City clear it up. But yeah, that felt like a big opportunity for me. So yeah, I was really, really frustrated. I'm not going to lie, at that one.
Pete, should Bruno have passed it?
I thought it was shocking. I thought it was really, really poor decision making from Bruno. I actually thought Gordon should have took a shot. First and foremost, he had the opportunity to
Gordon
the ball before he passed it across. I think his pass was actually meant to be to Miguel Almiron. It was meant to be laid off to him, but Bruno's managed to get in the way of it, got his touch on it. Miggy's tried to move out the way in order to give him space. Miguel Almiron, if he gets laid the ball in, it probably is on his right foot, but as we'll probably talk about, he made use of his right foot today, and he was far more effective with it. He's got a shot on goal, and it was the wrong decision to make. It was just poor decision making, and you can't do that. You've got to make the right decisions when you get moments like that against the best teams, and this is clearly the best team in the country.
Yeah, let's move it on a bit. 15 minutes, Isak had a chance. Miggy put the ball across. Isak had a chance there. Man City, though, in control. And Newcastle were trying to hit them on the counter. 24 minutes. And now we'll take 24 minutes and 25 minutes together, and then I'll get your thoughts on it. But Gordon is taken out by Diaz. No foul, says the referee. Definite foul if everyone else. But with Gordon still off the pitch, City come up. This is the 1 minute, 54 seconds, something later. Walker has freed him then down the right hand side, which Gordon was covering, and Bruyne was kind of playing more centre back at that stage. But he hit all the space, puts the ball across. Silva, nice little flick back, kind of flick in, 1-0 City. But surely that was a foul on Gordon, and it should have been brought back. And I know at that stage it's too far gone, but Pete, get your thoughts on that one.
I'm not going to lie. I was going through the comments. I didn't even hear what you said.
Pete, we won the match. No, it was. I was talking about where Gordon was off the pitch. Diaz fouled him, and where
the first goal, Man City's goal. Yeah. Well, first off, it's not a foul. And you're going to get Newcastle fans that are going to say, "Oh, it was a foul. He was off the pitch. Put the ball out." No, we wouldn't have done the same either. We wouldn't have done the same if it was the other way around. We wouldn't have put the ball out for someone that was off the pitch, and it wasn't a foul. I think it was, who was he up against? Was it Diaz? It was up against. Diaz was in front of the ball. Gordon was trying to get his hand around him to get in front of him, to obviously get onto the ball, because he's the one that's knocked the ball ahead. It's not a foul. And the players, Bruyne going up to the Man City player celebrating, why? There was nothing wrong with it. It was a perfectly legitimate attempt to get the ball from Diaz. No foul. We've switched off. We've got punished by an exceptional piece of skill from Bernardo Silva. And we're 1-0 down. And I think all I can put to that is that we were switched off for that period of time, which we got punished for. But you can't take anything away from Bernardo Silva. It was just outstanding. But he's an outstanding player. It's what I expect from someone like him.
Chris, your thoughts on the goal and the lead up to the goal?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to watch it properly again, but for me, it looked like a foul. I'd take what Pete's saying, and that he was ahead of Gordon and he used his strength and held him off. But it looked at my initial reaction when I saw it. I mean, to be fair, the replay that BT or TNT showed much later on wasn't a good angle, because to me it didn't look like there was anything in it. But when I watched it live, and then when I saw the instant replay, for me it was about what happened kind of shortly after Diaz has already covered it, and it might have been off the pitch, but it just looked like he'd given him like a proper shove, and that was where the foul was for me. But again, I'd have to watch it back. I thought like the play should have been stopped myself, but again, maybe I need to look it back, because Pete seems pretty adamant there that it wasn't a foul. But I get as well. I mean, I didn't understand why Bruyne was kicking off, because really, I think it was nearly a good minute afterwards.
It was 54 seconds or something.
Yeah, and a lot has happened from that point to when they scored the goal. So it was a bit like, it felt like a little bit of trying to make excuses.
That's where Gordon was focused. He was trying to consolidate Walker there, because Bruyne was more inside. So if that incident didn't happen, Gordon was there. He wouldn't have had as much time to put that ball in.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd have to watch it back. People in the chat, let us know what you think as well. But yeah, for me, I did think it was kind of the afters. I don't think what Diaz initially did was a foul, because Pete's right. He was ahead of Gordon, and it was just a case of holding him off. But I think that it was kind of like the shove, to send them. That for me was a foul. But I'd have to watch it back.
I have to watch it back as well, but I'm going to be big biased head of me on this one and saying it's a foul. So I don't care. Right, we'll move on. 28 minutes. Dubs, Dubravka save off the post from Silva. Great save actually from Dubravka there. You had a good game. 31 minutes. Isak closed down the keeper. Shot didn't come with that one, but it was good that even though we're 1-0 down, I was kind of thinking, hey, look, they're back to where they were. They're pressing. They're trying their best here. They're up against City. We are at home, but you're still kind of proud of them at this stage. But then, 34 minutes, Isak goal. Bruno with a lovely ball over the top. Great vision to pick out Isak. A looping kind of ball in. Isak buries it from a distance out as well. It was a great goal from Isak here, actually. He's like, my Isak goal pictures, make it 1-1 and cue the celebrations, and also the acknowledgement of Isak and Bruno there. It was a great pass from him. But Pete, I'll go to you for Isak's goal.
Sensational. Everything about that goal was absolutely sensational. That's what Newcastle United are about. That's what we did last season. That is what we can do to teams, even the best team in the league in Man City. Everything about that goal, starting from Bruno Guimaraes. Oh, no, in fact, tell a lie, starting from Fabian Schär. Wow. 2 absolute monster tackles in the space of like seconds, wins the ball halfway into our pitch, and he's just played that simple ball into Bruno Guimaraes. And I'm not going to hold back on it. Bruno Guimaraes was absolutely shy up until that point. I was pissed off with him, not tracking his runners, not following the man, not good with the ball. I was annoyed with him, but he made up for it just in that pass alone. That pass is why we've got a £100 million release clause, because he is one of the only players on the pitch that can play a pass like that. The other one did it against Tottenham last season in Willock, who's barely kicked a ball all season. But that pass was outstanding. Perfect. The way it landed, literally in the stride of Isak. And look, if anyone had watched Isak before he came to Newcastle United, you would have seen him do that time and time again for Sweden and for Real Sociedad. I'm just shocked that Kyle Walker got rinsed and allowed it to happen. But Isak, brilliant stuff. Just shifts the ball. It reminded me a little bit of Alan St. Maximin's goal against Man United. I think it was in the season that Eddie Howe took over, where he just shifts the ball inside and within a split second takes it in. The keeper can't adjust himself.
I know what you mean.
The ball is set and hit too quickly before the keeper can set himself to be able to get across to save it. But even if he did get across, it's right into the side netting. It's an outstanding finish. And this is why we need to do everything we can to protect our best striker, our number one guy, our guy that since this game finished tonight, every single opposition fan in this Premier League, particularly the top 6 ones, are all rubbing their hands together thinking, we need to get Isak. I've had so many tweets out there. I've seen so many messages of Isak's the best after Haaland. Isak's the best. Yeah, we know that. We know he's the best. But we need to ensure that we're providing him with chances and that we're looking after this guy, because in the second half of the season, he is going to be pivotal to what we're trying to do. 14 goals already this season in 23 games. Superb stuff. Brilliant goal.
Chris, how was Isak's goal for you?
Yeah, outstanding. I think I told you boys, didn't I? I nearly took the door off the hinges. I was just banging the door. It was just like I literally jumped up off the couch, and I don't know why I ran the door, but as is, it was just the ball from Bruno, exquisite. Pete's spot on, by the way. I'd forgotten about the work that Fabian Schär had done in the build up to that, and yeah, 2 fantastic tackles, wins back possession, simple ball. Bruno, I was waxing lyrical to my mates, and they were saying it was a hopeful ball from Bruno, and I was like, it's not a hopeful ball. There's no way. He knows exactly what he's going to do, because as soon as the ball comes into him, he's already done his little pivot. He already knows that Isak's on his way, and he just hits it straight away. Curling ball makes it really, really difficult for the City defence, and then Isak does what Isak does best. Feints to go one way, gets it on his right foot, pings it, and keeper had no chance. It was just a brilliant finish. And to kind of touch on what Pete said, we're very, very, very lucky to have Alexander Isak, and really, it's about creating the spine of the team and keeping hold of it. I feel like we're free. We're three players in that spine. So we've got Isak, we've got Botman, we've got Schär, Isak, Bruno, and Botman. And now, for me, there's just one more piece of the jigsaw in terms of that spine, and that can be our our team or our spine for the next at least 3 years if we want it to be. But Isak was incredible today. I thought he was really, really good. He tired towards the end, but he was fantastic for that goal. Took it so well. Really, really good goal.
No, he did. Right, 2 minutes later, I can't remember who put the ball through, but Gordon on a great run, cuts inside like he likes to do, wonder goal, a bit similar in some ways to Isak where he placed it. But for your mates, Chris, let's play this.
Gordon. No, it's fine.
Sing it and you can have a point.
Gordon, running down the wing, Gordon. Hit the jaw, this sing, Gordon. We are going to Madrid.
Love that. I was planning that when it was 2-1. But yeah, I went mental as well. When that one went in, Chris, I was nearly fucking crying at that stage. It was like, what is going on here? Like from where we were and then to be 2-1 up, it was just unbelievable. But Pete, we'll go to your thoughts on Gordon's goal.
I think I got pelters from certain sections when I said that Gordon was showing signs of his former self at Anfield. But I could see it. I could see that he was coming back to his best. It wasn't like for a full game. It wasn't for a full half. But there was little signs of life at Anfield, and he put it into practice again against Sunderland. But Anthony Gordon was back today. He was back today. I was really, really impressed with his performance. Didn't deserve to be on the losing side. I thought he was superb. And that goal signifies everything I need to see from Anthony Gordon moving forward. None of this run forward, turn back, play it back to the centre midfielder or back to Dan Burn. I want to see him driving at the fullback when he's one-on-one or he's in a position to drive into the box. Literally, as he gets the ball given to him from Dan Burn, the first thing I'm shouting at the TV, I'm saying, make it to the box. I've said it as the game's going on. I'm saying, make it to the box. If you sprint and get into the box, you're in a position where you are up against Kyle Walker and you're now committing him. You're now committing him to make a decision. And if it's in the box, you are likely to either get a shot off goal or win a penalty, because that's what Anthony Gordon does. He doesn't do it enough. He's got the pace. He's got the direct ability. He can shift onto his left, onto his right. Defenders don't know how to deal with him, and he needs to do that more. It was a brilliant run. He drove into the box, cut inside, and it's the tightest of angles. It's literally in between two players. There's players here. There's Walker, and I think it might be Diaz or Rodri or somebody here, and he literally plays it in between them into the far corner. It's a superb goal. And we've seen him score goals like this before. Sheffield United away scored a similar goal, cuts him onto his right, boom, into the far corner. We need to see more of that, because Anthony Gordon now, I think he's on 7 goals for this season. Target 15. Target 15 if you keep doing that. Drive it your fullback, commit the guy, and you'll get the fruits of your labour. But I do hold it that he has been playing injured, particularly through December. He's now getting his fitness back up. And he looked lightning at times. Lightning. His defensive work was superb today. But I need to see that from him. It was a brilliant, brilliant goal. We were very lucky to see some superb goals today. I'm not going to lie.
Well, there's about 150 people in the chat. Smash that like button. We mightn't have won today, but look, there was a performance. Everyone has an opinion. Get them in the chat as well. Get your thoughts in the chat. We'll get to comments and questions towards the end of the show as well. But Chris, I wanted to come to you then about Gordon's goal. But before that, I'm not sure if you saw much of the build-up, but there was a conversation that Rio Ferdinand was talking to Gordon as well, and they was talking about the maturity that he has now. That it took him a while to get up to speed to what Eddie wanted from him as well. But he's now like that press and where he's kind of, rather than looking for the ball straight away, he's making the run to receive it. But yeah, your thoughts on Gordon as a whole and that goal.
Yeah, so I'll start on the goal first of all. I started talking as Pete was talking, but yeah, I was exactly the same. I was literally, as soon as he picked up the ball, it was like I was just shouting at him, run at him, just run at him. And Kyle Walker's in the box, and you can tell he doesn't want Anthony Gordon to go at him. And Pete was spot on. As soon as Anthony Gordon gets in that 18-yard box, he gives Kyle Walker a problem, because Kyle Walker is then going to be very careful not to touch him, but also Anthony Gordon can then close the angle, create a little bit of space for himself, which we know that he can, because he's very quick-footed and he's got that burst of pace, and he gets his shot off, and fantastic shot. Really, 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 really good goal. Well-taken goal. But overall, this is what we need to see more of from Anthony Gordon. We need him to use, we need him to kind of use his in-game intelligence. We need him to kind of anticipate what's going to happen. And this comes in time. This comes in time with playing with the same players, getting to know the system. And, for some players, it can take longer than others. But I want to see Anthony Gordon picking up the ball and being direct. He needs to be more direct, and he needs to kind of pose questions of wingers. He needs to pose questions of fullbacks. And for certain games, he hasn't done that. But I thought Anthony Gordon has a really good game today, and it was nice to see. And this is the Anthony Gordon that I'm sure Eddie Howe and the owners and Jason Tindall, they will have all seen. And this is the Anthony Gordon that they want. And really, the objective should be just run at your fullback, just cause them issues. So many times this season, and in previous games, we've seen him get the ball, look up, pass it back, make a move, and it's like, no, you do the movement. You run at the player. I mean, on the other side, you've got Miggy on the right, and Miggy doesn't like running directly at players, but Miggy likes to put the ball beside the player and run alongside them, because he knows he can beat them for pace. With Anthony Gordon, you want him to run directly at the player, because Anthony Gordon he's got the trickery, and he can go left, he can go right, and the defender's kind of a bit like that. That's what gave Alan St-Maximin so much joy, because Alan St-Maximin used to just run at full-backs or centre-backs, and he didn't know what way he was going to go, and he's that tricky, and he was that quick, and that's where he got all his joy. And I just hope that we see more of that from Anthony Gordon, but he should take confidence in that goal and his performance, because Pete spotted it against Liverpool, that Anthony Gordon's starting to look like he's overcome the tiredness, the fatigue, the injury, whatever you want to call it, because he looks like he's getting back to his best form, which he showed at the start of the season.
No, I agree with everything you said there, Chris. And I think you mentioned earlier the Botman, Bruno, Isak spine. I think Gordon is in that position as well. Yeah, he's nailed down that place. Absolutely. He's one for now and the future as well. Yeah, so you have those three, and Gordon are mainstays in the team. It's building everyone else around that as well, as we go in with the project. 38 minutes. A Botman recovery run, track him Daku, and got the tackle in to cut out that attack. Absolutely. Yeah, that was brilliant from Botman as well. Pete, I'm going to go to you for this one, because I'm 40 minutes, because this is, I think, where we were speaking before the show about Isak was one-on-one. The shot was saved. That would have taken us to 3-1 before half time. But what should he have done there?
Yeah, obviously it's easy to say when you're kind of watching the game and you're not in it. But I just look at Anthony Gordon. I'm looking at Alexander Isak's ability. It's a brilliant ball through, and he's got the pace. He's got the beating of him, of the defender. It might be Gavardio or Ake, potentially. I can't remember who. Anyway, he's got the beating of him. He's in. He's in on goal, and he hits it straight at the goalkeeper. It's a bit of a tame hit, to be fair. The goalkeeper comfortably saves it. But if you look at the angle that he's at, the goalkeeper, the way he comes out, there's a dink on there. There's a dink, and he's got the ability to do it. That little dink over the goalkeeper into the far corner, and he nicks the goal. And just watching it, as I'm watching the first replay back, I'm thinking, if he'd have done that, the goalkeeper's literally he's stuck. Because let's face it, that goalkeeper was shite. Like, Ortega was absolutely dog shit today, and whereas Ederson is one of the best goalkeepers in the league. There was a clear difference there, and that little dink, I don't think Ortega would have been ready for that. But I'm not going to hammer in on it. It was just something that I thought he could have done, because the angle was really, really tight. And going in at 3-1, it's we're having a different conversation there about the game.
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
Right before half time, we also had the 43 minutes. We had Miggy's lob was white, but it was also offside. But that took us to half time, and with going in 2-1, I was delighted. You guys were delighted. I was even thinking about, should we do a halftime show? It was that good. So pity we had to do a full-time show, or would have just settled for the halftime show. But look, let's move on into the second half. Dubravka save, City free kick. After Bruyne, professional foul, and Rodri. It was.
He had to do that, by the way.
He had to do that. Yeah. It's going top bins as well. That free kick, so it was a good save from Dubravka. 55 minutes. Shar had a nice run, and City returned that favour. Silva taking a yellow card. Now Byrne didn't get a yellow card for his one actually, but Silva took him down. Shar was laughing. He was on that one of his runs, and there was a shot coming there for sure. 62 minutes. Bruno lost the ball high up the pitch, but made sure he got back. Got in the touches to take that out to get the ball out. So well done, Bruno, and tracking back there at that stage. 63 minutes, Dubravka save after a bad pass from Trips. Trips, who had a good game actually today. Seems to be back to his best as well. Still waiting on a free kick to go in though. 68 minutes, Silva off, Kevin De Bruyne on. Here is the start of the downfall. 73 minutes, Kevin De Bruyne goal, 2-2. He just kind of passed the ball in really, but it went through Shar's legs, but it's Kevin De Bruyne. Any thoughts on that one, on that goal? Anyone want to say anything about that one?
This was, do you know what? This was just unfortunate. I mean, don't get me wrong. As soon as Kevin De Bruyne came on, the game turned, and Kevin De Bruyne is like different level. He's ridiculously good. But when you're taking off Bernardo Silva and bringing on Kevin De Bruyne, it's like, you kind of have to bow your hat a little bit, because he's just incredible. But for me, this goal, the disappointing thing for me, albeit it was very clever, was when the three midfielders got sucked in. And then Rodri just plays a little pass to the side, and it, when you see it in slow-mo, it just cuts the whole midfield out. So because Rodri's sucked the three players in, done the dink, it's gone to De Bruyne, and then he's just driven through. And do you know what? It's unlucky. Because, people were saying, oh, he's just passed it in. And he did, but it went through Shar's legs. And the gap in Shar's legs must have been about roughly the size of a football, and it went through. Do you know what I mean? I felt a little bit for Dubravka, because like he wasn't getting to that. Do you know what I mean? But that not taking anything away from De Bruyne. Fantastic player, fantastic goal. But we were just a little bit unfortunate there. We just switched off just for milliseconds. Rodri splits the whole midfield. De Bruyne's through, and then he hits it, and it goes right through Shar's legs. And I just thought, it was just one of them. But not taking anything away from De Bruyne, because it was a good play. It was a good goal.
And look, in fairness as well, City were all over us, and at that stage we were running on fumes. When we don't have it on people at the there was even talk that on the commentary were saying that there's going potential for Bruno to come off and Lascelles to come on. But Pete, do you want to say anything about that De Bruyne goal?
You could see it coming. What I will say is that the fact that you could see it coming was because nothing changed. The same pattern of play was happening all throughout the game, and I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't make changes alongside what Man City did when they brought De Bruyne on. That's probably my biggest frustration about that situation. Look, in terms of the goal, it goes through Shaw's legs. For me, if I'm Shaw, I'm making a tackle on him. I'm conceding another free kick. I'm not letting him get a shot away. Kevin De Bruyne, if anybody's watched Kevin De Bruyne, he always passes those type of shots into the corner. That's why he's the best in the league. That's why he's the best player in the Premier League, because he knows how to finish. It was in the one place that Dubravka couldn't get to. Dubravka was outstanding today. Like, I don't rate the guy. We need a new goalkeeper, in my opinion. However, I cannot fault him for that goal. I cannot fault him for any of the goals, if I'm honest. I thought it was really, really good today. And it was a little bit of a bit unfortunate, but also it's that little bit of stardust, it's that little bit of class that they were lacking. And at that point, that's when you're looking at the situation and you're really, really like worried about the rest of the game and what's to come.
Yeah, just to follow on from what you said about Dubravka there. Yeah, in the last couple of games, he's done really, really well. And look at I want someone else in new as well as but no, fair play to him the last couple of games. Moving on, 83 minutes, Dubravka save from a Rodri shot. 85 minutes, we do make a change. Gordon comes off, Howe comes on. 90th minute, fucking sideshow Bob, Oscar Bob. Lovely ball from Kevin De Bruyne.
Ridiculous ball.
I looked that ball back. That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But 2-3 final score. Robbed from our draw. But City were all over. And Kevin De Bruyne, the difference maker, coming off the bench. There was just right before the end as well. There was a claim for handball for us, but no, it wasn't given. But that's it. 2-3. City win. Congratulations, City. We put up a good fight, and I think I'm proud of the lads. Again, with what we have, we're waiting on players going back. We're waiting for some maybe more loan moves towards the end of the transfer window. But we had to go with what we had. It is what it is. I was expecting a defeat before the game, but I'm proud of the lads and the performance they put up. They just ran out of steam. It's a recurring theme for us now, but we go again.
Yeah. I think it's all for me today. I mean, obviously there was an abundance of quality from City. We saw it. I think we saw it the first half an hour like that. Arguably, certainly this season, from when I've watched Manchester City, that first half an hour, City were just like everything they touched. Foden was brilliant in that first half an hour. He was everywhere. But then we came back into the game. I thought we did really well. We managed that difficult period really well, and then we caused them some issues, and you could see they were shell shocked because within the space of a few minutes, all of a sudden we're 2-1 up, and we looked great. But I think second half it was backs to the wall, and as I said to some of the lads who I was speaking to during the match, I keep banging on about it, and I probably don't need to say it on this channel because everyone watching it will understand, and I know you boys understand. But playing the same 11 and nearly every player is playing a full 90 minutes, it's going to keep taking its toll. And with just imagine if we had on the bench today a Joe Linton, a Tonali, a Barnes, a Wilson, a Livramento. If we made Willock, if we made 3 or 4 subs today when we were in the ascendancy, or when City really cranked it up, or as Pete said, when they brought De Bruyne on and when they brought Oscar Bob on, if we'd have then countered that and brought our own subs on who were maybe not of the same quality but certainly would improve the team and freshen things up, we could be talking about a different outcome. And this is the difficulty, because we keep playing the same 11 nearly all the time, and you can see the players are out flat on the feet. Like, I think at one point he put Isak on the left and played Gordon through the middle, and then Isak just looked absolutely shattered. But then the trouble is, if you take Isak off, you lose all attacking threat. You haven't got that ahead in the middle of the park, and up top in the middle, you haven't got it. And that's the difficulty we've got at the minute. That's basically where we're failing, in my opinion, because if we could freshen this up, or in other games, if we could rotate and think, do you know what, let's see these. We were doing it at the start of the season, weren't we, boys? We were saying Wilson will play that game, Isak will play that game. You know,
Yeah,
save Isak for the Champions League, save Gordon, get Gordon off after an hour, bring Barnes on. And we just don't have that option. And this is where we're coming unstuck. I mean, at one point, and in fact, I'm going slightly off topic here, but it's just something I remembered to say because I mentioned it to you in the group chat, and I know we touched on it very earlier on. The first 10 minutes, I was a little bit worried because I don't know if you boys noticed. I'm sure you did, but like Bruno was playing so high. At one point, I thought he was playing number 10, and I was thinking, hang on, what are we doing here? Because Bruno was pushing Rodri. And I was thinking, is this the tactic? Maybe Eddie Howe's told him to push up and, you know, kind of make Rodri a little bit unsettled. But then he soon retreated and ended up being in his number 6 position. But did you boys notice that? And do you think that was a tactic, or do you think it was just Bruno getting overexcited with the crowd and it being a home game?
I thought he kind of rotated a bit with Longstaff covering when he went forward, but no, not so much, Chris. I do, for that where he should have laid it off to Isak or whoever was there. He does go wandering, and then especially later in games, he's out of steam as well, just trying to get back. But he did make one, as I covered in the synopsis there. He did make one great recovery when he lost the ball to come back.
Yeah, true.
Another thing, like. If we had the likes of a Phillips, there, like we always said, with that covering that space between the two lines, let's say, and to have that for away games. But when we're 2-up against City, I can see the benefit in bringing on a Phillips just to kind of calm it down a bit as well and cut out the threat of Foden. But he's just unbelievable as well. Any roundup you want to give, Pete?
With regards to what Chris said about Bruno, that's Bruno's game. That's what he does every game. You always see him pressing the highest, which is why when we get to the tactics board, normally after games, he always presses the highest or the most deepest of the opposition's midfielders. So he does look like a number 10 because he's pressing so high. But this is part of the problem, is that if that midfielder breaks that press and plays the ball in and behind, we're then exposed. And that's part of the problem. And for me, I don't think Miley covers Bruno as well as he should. Longstaff does. People have said about Longstaff not having a good game. I thought he went about his business okay, probably until about the 60th minute, and then just fell flat. Which, you know, I'm not really surprised with the amount of ground he covered. But Miley doesn't cover him in the same way as maybe a Joe Linton would. Joe Linton's more athletic, gets himself around, is big and strong, wins the ball. So Bruno can do that because he's given the license to, because normally he has that protection. He didn't have it today, so he was more exposed from that point of view. But look, guys, I'm going to be honest, and this is my biggest frustration about the game, and I'm going to bring the tactics board in just to talk about it a little bit, if I can get it on. This position here that you can see happened time and time again during the game. Okay, this is the way Newcastle United set up defensively, and this is how the team set up in game. Now, what you got, and we could change that for this, because this is what it was first off, is that Alvarez would sit deep and not be marked by the centre backs, so they'd almost be playing as a 2. But Foden, and the amount of times you could see in game where Foden was just stood still, unmarked, in that number 10 position. Yeah. It's like we hadn't learned from the game at the Etihad, which is what Foden did exactly the same at the Etihad and punished us time and time again. And yeah, okay, for long parts, particularly in the first half, we dealt with it. But we literally set up as a line with our sort of our front 3 wingers there. The only one I've not put in there is Isak, but I'm just doing it from our defensive point of view. This is how, for long parts, we were set up. And we dealt with it in the first half because we dealt with it with regards to Foden. We were aggressive in here with regards to Foden when he's running with the ball. And, you know, you're right, Daz. Bruno did get back and get some recovery runs in and around the area. Longstaff, Miley did the same. Miguel Almiron recovery runs were outstanding. The amount of defensive tackles he made, particularly in the first half, were brilliant. And we're really starting to see why Miguel Almiron was talked about in such a positive light last season, because that work off the ball is crucial to this team. And we're really starting to see him get back up to fitness now as well. Yes, there's a question mark about in front of goal, but he's doing the job for the team. But if you're then changing that for that, I'm sorry, he's the best in the world. You've got to change with what the opposition are doing. I don't care how good we are. I don't care whether we're at home or not. You're playing against the treble winners. Now, for me, Eddie Howe needs to do better there, in my opinion. And he needs to make that change. And whether it's this is what I would have done. And a few people called for it. I'd have done this, which is what was rumoured at the time. And you make it a 3. And whenever he gets that ball from Rodri in there and you tighten that up, he goes out to the ball. And you've still got your back 4 set, but he's the winner. He's the winner that breaks down that position there. And he stops Kevin De Bruyne getting on the ball. And what that does, it gives the license for him to press these two midfielders whenever they get the ball. And they're not then worried about that ball just being dinked in and behind, which is what happened for the De Bruyne goal. So if I take him off and I put Bruno back on, I'll just leave Bruno on the pitch. But if I put Bruno on there and put Lascelles here, right, this is what happened. It was a little, he almost plays for it. He almost plays for it. They all kind of shift over here. And I think it might be Rodri who plays him the ball. He shifts over here, and then it's a little out. De Bruyne moves here and then moves back, and they've all moved over. So then there creates a gap, and he just does the little inside of the foot out into De Bruyne, and then the line's broken, and he runs through, and it's a side foot pass into the goal. And they almost played for it. We let them do it. We have to make a change. We have to change something up. As I said to you boys, a point would have been a good point. A point is a positive result for Newcastle United, because I don't care what anybody says, nobody was expecting Newcastle United to go and beat Man City in this game. We may have been hopeful that we got a result, but nobody was expecting it. So when you're getting on to 60, however many minutes in the game, and they bring Kevin De Bruyne on, right, you need to make a change to change it up. Now, some people are saying that go on.
Yes, sir. No, I've got a question for you because I said the same in the run through there, but that's the commentary team were saying that Lascelles looks like he's coming on for Bruno. So what happened? And I know you don't know the answer, but what happened that didn't take place? That Lascelles didn't come on there? Were they afraid to take Bruno off, or what? Why didn't it happen? I guess.
Honestly, Daz, I think Bruno's told them that he's okay, and I think they've gone right. You're okay, so we'll keep you in. But it was the wrong decision, because tactically we needed to shore up that middle of the pitch, and by bringing Lascelles in, I think I've lost him now. I'll go back and grab him. Bringing Lascelles in here to play as a 3. So if they're playing out wide and they're whipping balls into the box, you've got 3 centre-backs, big, tall, strong in the air to win the ball, all good defensively, no problem. But when they've got the ball here, you've got a guy that can risk and be able to risk to come out and close that down and know that these two can handle him. That for the most part, in fact, the majority of the game, they did. Botman and Shaw did their jobs. I've got no qualms with Botman and Shaw tonight. I thought they were brilliant. They handled Alvarez no problem. So that wasn't the issue. The issue was here, and it didn't matter whether it was him in the first half or him in the second half. This position needed to be dealt with, and he would have done that. He would have come in and done a job for the team. Or someone that's more kind of attacking minded that could have maybe won the ball and brought it forward is Fabian Shaw. Yeah. You switch it there and you bring Shaw in here. But regardless of who you put in there, someone should have come in to sit in there. Lascelles is quite quick. He's not rapid, but he's quick. He's good defensively. He's big and strong, so he would have handled him physically. It would have been the perfect move to make. And so many people called it, and it should have happened. And I expected it. When I heard that Bruno was coming off, I thought, it was on a yellow card, okay, for a stupid tackle.
Makes sense.
And I think he's only one booking away from the 2-match ban, which is the worst thing in the world, because we haven't got a Joe Linton. And this brings me on to my next point. I'm sorry for the rant, but I'm going to bring me on to my next point. Right? I've got no issue with these players on the pitch. These players were fantastic tonight. In the tactics that they were set up to play, they were fantastic. They give everything. I cannot argue them at all, right? But this is what should have happened, to press that ball, giving them the license for these guys to continue to work off the ball, okay, to press in here, and for these two to go man-to-man with these two, which I would have backed. I would have backed these guys to deal with these in that sort of low block situation. And what do you know? Kevin De Bruyne plays the ball over for Oscar Bob, and you can argue with Kieran Trippier. You know, he gets wrong-sided, all the rest of it. I thought Trippier was superb today. I thought he was back to his best. It was one moment of absolute quality. The only one on the pitch that could have probably stumped Trippier today is Kevin De Bruyne. That ball is world-class. That ball is world-class. It's into an area that not many people in world football can find. That's how good he is. But you cannot allow him to have free reign on the ball, to play that sort of ball into that area for Oscar Bob to score. That gets pressed. He doesn't play the ball, or I think it may even been a little bit more deeper. So at that point, he's here, and that gives, by having him here, it gives these guys the license to press higher up. And if they press higher up, he gets pressed. But because they're in a line and Bruno's there, okay, they're worried about this little gap in here. They're sticking to their formation, and so he's allowed to come deep and play the ball in there. I can't remember.
Can I ask you a question, Pete? Obviously, Daz is spot on. You know, when he said that the commentator said, "I think we've heard that Lascelles was going to come on for Bruno, and then a decision was made for that sub not to happen." I completely agree, by the way, with what you're saying. I think that would have really, really helped, and perhaps we wouldn't have seen that goal go in. But do you think if we had because the way when you first said that, I thought, right, okay, what's Eddie Howe thinking? So Bruno said, I'm fine, I want to stay on the pitch. Do you think Eddie Howe's looked at Longstaff and looked at Marley and gone, right, we need these legs, we need these lads, we need the legs of these two in the midfield. So if I'm not taking Bruno off, who's on a yellow, rightly, and he's probably the slowest of the three, I think that's fair to say. Do you think if we had a number 6 on the bench, that decision would have been taken out of Bruno's hands, and Eddie Howe would have just gone, no, straight swap, get him in? Do you think there was any reluctance because it was Jamal Lascelles and because it would have changed the shape, and because, or do you think it was just the fact that he's just changed plans because he's gone from taking off Bruno and bringing on Lascelles to then taking off a like for like, because that's basically what he's done, isn't it? He's taken off Hall and he's brought on Gordon for legs. Yeah. So what do you think was going through his mind?
It kind of brings me to my next point, really, because
sorry, Pete.
No, it's a valid point, and it brings me to my point in that Eddie Howe clearly doesn't trust the players on the bench. He clearly, and I tweeted out not long before the show started, and I said, there needs to be changes. There needs to be players that come in this month to help this team. These players need help. These players need help right now. I cannot argue those players that played for 93 minutes, 94 minutes on the pitch. I cannot. They gave everything. But it was very clear to me that at 60 minutes, both Miley and Isak were spent. They were done. Isak wasn't pressing. Isak wasn't working off the ball. Isak wasn't doing anything of what he did in the first half because he was tired. He was trying to manage himself. Lewis Miley was shattered. You could tell he was shattered. We needed to change. Now you look across that team and you look across that bench, and you've got that bench there, Daz. You've got, and forget the goalkeepers for a second. You've got Dummett, Lascelles, Ritchie, Kraft, Hall, Murphy, Parkinson. Okay? It's very clear that Eddie Howe doesn't trust any one of them to come on. Ritchie's played in a midfield position before, even centre midfield before, for Eddie Howe. He's played there. Doesn't trust him to come on. Lewis Hall comes on towards the end, like you said, like for like. I can't argue that sub because even by that point, Gordon was shattered too. He was shattered, and we needed legs in that on the pitch. Okay, there are changes that potentially could have been made. I've already talked about Lascelles from that point of view. And when you're getting to those last few minutes, if you can't trust those guys to just run and press and chase, you're not asking them to score worldies in front of goal, but you're asking them to do a job for the team to see the game out. If you cannot bring a player on to run and press and do the job, there might not be Parkinson might not be the ability of Alexander Isak. He's nowhere near that. But what he can do is run and press and run his socks off and press for the team and make it hard for those centre-backs to bring the ball out for 3 or 4 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. He does that. That potentially stops an attack. You're telling me that Richie can't run and press and do that job because Miley was out of his feet. He was shattered. He wasn't even getting to the player that he was marking. If you watch that game back for the last 10 minutes of that game, Miley wasn't getting to the player that he was supposed to mark because he was too tired. It was almost reactionary. He was almost like the pass is made and it's almost like, and then he goes again because he knows he has to. He's tired. I'm not arguing. I'm not angry with him off the back of that. He was shattered. He gave everything. But bring someone on that can run and press. He might not be as good as Miley, Matt Ritchie. Yeah, he's going to leave hopefully in the summer. But he could have done that for 3, 4, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And this is my point. This is not about the injured players. So many in the chat have made great points. Chris, you've made it as well. If we have Tonali, if we have Barnes, if we have Murphy, if we have Callum Wilson, we've got all those options to bring off. But I'm talking about the here and now. Yeah. Barnes has missed the majority of this season, right? He's not been available for the majority of the season. Callum Wilson is now in his 3rd big injury this season alone, where he's had a significant period out of the team. That's too many. Willock has barely kicked a ball this season. Right? Tonali's suspended. Right? We can't talk about those players and we can't say if those players were in because we can't rely on those players because they're either suspended and not available to August or they're consistently injured. So we now have to look, if you cannot trust, and you just put that, if you can, Dad, just put that squad back up again. So to your reserves. If you can't trust those players on the pitch to come on and do a job, if you can't trust your captain to come on and try and see out this game, if you can't trust Richie to come in and he's meant to be great around the dressing room, fantastic. But if you can't trust him to come onto the pitch to do a job for 3, 4, 5 minutes, and I'm not talking about 15, 20 minutes. We could have needed it, but 4 or 5 minutes. They scored on the 91st minute. 4 or 5 minutes in that game, even 6, 7, whatever it is. If you can't trust Richard to come on and do a job when you've got players spent, Hall comes on, fair enough. Parkinson, what is the point? What is the point of this? Because let's look at this situation, Daz. Just really quickly. Things aren't getting any better. Joe Linton misses some crucial fixtures now. Over the course of February. Luton, Forest, Bournemouth, he misses them. He's probably not going to be back till March now, or at the earliest when we go to the Emirates Stadium, when we go to Arsenal, right? He misses all those games. Barnes isn't going to be back till potentially in February, right? Mid-February. So he's going to miss some of those games. Willock the same. The only one that's looking like they're going to be back is Murphy and Wilson. But I've just said the same thing again, Wilson, you can't trust him now. You don't know if he's going to be injured again, if he's going to be back for 1 game, 5 games, 10 games. Nobody knows. Murphy's a little bit different because that was a freak injury, and now he's had that full rehabilitation. You'd expect that he will stay fit, providing that his shoulder holds up. So for me, if you can't trust some of these players, we need to move them out the squad. Whether you cancel their contracts or whether you move them out the squad and I'm not talking let's get 3, 4, 5 players. I'm not talking that. I'm talking we can at least get 1 player because Sandro Tonali won't be in the 25-man squad because he's not available until August. So there's 1 space available. So we know we've got space to get a player. But I'm talking about, okay, if Dummett's not going to play any football, if Richie's not going to play any football, if Manquillo, and I've said it to you boys on our chat, if Manquillo's not going to play any more football for us because he can't stay fit, He's only got 6 months left of his contract, if I'm right in thinking. Just cancel it. Just cancel it. Say, or if you're going to keep him, if he doesn't want to cancel his contract, just say, okay, fine, but we're taking you out the 25-man squad because we're going to put either a midfielder or an attacking player into this squad, somebody on loan. I'm not talking loans. I'm not talking permanence. I'm not talking spending 30, 40, 50 million on players. It's clear that we might not have that type of money. But I'll tell you what, there will be loans available this month. Eddie Howe's already said it. There will be loans available. He's already said it in a number of his interviews. Go out and get a couple of players that can refresh this team and give us options, whether it's starting or on the bench, so we can be competitive. Because I tell you now, if we'd have had at least 2 more quality first team ready players in that squad today in attacking areas, that game would have been different. It would have been different.
Yeah, I agree.
Pete, I also agree with what you're saying, but the thing is as well, like he doesn't trust his bench against Man City, but he hasn't trusted his bench in all the other games that's gone on the last couple of years. So, I can in a way understand it is Man City, but he should have made the Lascelles change that he was thinking about doing, and in hindsight, is a great thing as well. But also, if these guys are sitting on the bench and he's not going to play them, fucking sell the seat. We maybe someone else will buy the seat. We're everyone mad to get into to see the games. They're sitting there doing nothing because he won't play them. So there's plenty of seats there for other people to go sit on. But no, I agree with what you're saying, Pete. It is what it is. Chris, did you want to get in?
No, I was just going to say I agree with what Pete and now you've said, Daz. I completely agree with it, and I think that the difficulty is, if he doesn't trust his players, then there's something wrong, because, you know, when you're seeing players who are out dead on the feet, they're absolutely shattered. Pete, it's a fantastic point. It's an absolutely fantastic point, and we've not spoken about this on this channel. And we've said that obviously we need to upgrade the bench. We look at the bench and we go, oh, I don't know. But tonight, that was typified, because it wasn't about quality tonight, really. In the last 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes, whatever it is, it was about energy. It was about commitment, passion, pressing, Harrison. That's what we needed, and all of our players were just shattered. And you could see that in Alexander Isak, you could see it in Miley, you could see it in Longstaff, you could see it in Bruno. And they haven't got the quality. And you probably wouldn't bring them on at half time or with 30 minutes to go. But subs needed to be made, and you know, you're right that number 10 position tonight for Manchester City was a problem area. We saw it in the first half an hour with Foden, and then we saw it as soon as Kevin De Bruyne come on, because Kevin De Bruyne he had the freedom of the pitch at one point. There was one point where he picked the ball up, and it was towards the right of the 18-yard box. So Dubravka's left of the 18-yard box if he's looking out, and he had no one about 6-7 yards near him, and he had the ball, and you could see him looking up. And there was a couple of occasions where Kevin De Bruyne, kind of drifted out to the right wing, and Dan Burn was petrified to get near him, because obviously he'd been told, stay tight, stay compact, stay as a unit. You can't give Kevin De Bruyne 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds to pick his pass and get the cross in. You just can't do it. Kevin De Bruyne at one point was where Foden was, Pete. He was literally out there, and Dan Burn was tucked in right next to Botman. And De Bruyne, you can't give De Bruyne 5-10 yards. You just can't, because he can put the ball on a sixpence, and that's what he kept doing time and time again. And we were lucky because we were getting the ball out and we were heading it out and defending it well. But it was just constant pressure all the time, and it was the same. It was the same movements, and it was the same transitions every single time. And in the end, it's caught us out. Just to add in on the Oscar Bob goal, got to say as well, fantastic bit of skill from Oscar Bob. That I felt like the commentary didn't do him justice there. The way he switched it from his left to his right and then just tapped it in. It was a really, really clever finish. And I felt sorry for Trippier, because, he was slightly, the wrong side of his man. But Oscar Bob did fantastically well for that goal. And, the ball, as you said, Daz, the ball was just unbelievable. Nobody else makes that ball. Nobody else.
I'll say it again. Fuck Oscar Bob. All right. That's it. For let's go to the comments, lads, and see what we have.
Right. Go on,
yeah.
Pete. Go on, mate.
Trippier for Prime Minister doesn't hold back when he says, "Don't let the scoreline convince you that that was a close game. We play some absolutely honking and woeful, unsustainable football." And then he also puts as well, Howe has proven yet again he is not the man to take us to titles. I'm afraid. Cope, all you like with De Bruyne came on, and we have Richie. We play the same shite week in, week out. What are your thoughts about those two comments, boys?
I'd say Howe would love to have swapped De Bruyne for Richie as well, but but we are where we are. We know from the Darren Eales interview as well that we're not going to go out and make major monetary permanent signings this month. We will hopefully get some loans in, and that you never know, we might get some kind of a surprise, and that we look to try. We could have the money coming in the summer. We'll have some money, and maybe we'll look at some peripheral or maybe like first team players will move on as well. Some that have value. I'm not talking about the superstars as Eddie alluded to, but look at. I think we stick with how this season. We stick with how next season, and see where we are then. Assess it then. He deserves a proper transfer window next the summer, and with players, he's hopefully not as many injuries, and to give it a good go. Then let's see where we are then at that stage.
Yeah, I think for me, Chippy for Prime Minister, I think he's trying to say that people saying, oh well, City have got De Bruyne on the bench and we've got Matt Ritchie. I think Chippy for Prime Minister is trying to say, yes, we clearly don't have the riches that Man City have. We don't have the squad that Man City have. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's kind of putting the finger at Howe here, and this is the problem, boys. The finger will be pointed at Eddie Howe because. Yes, I didn't think we were atrocious today, and I thought there was real potential for us to. I think you said, Pete, we could have been 4-1 up at half time. I think there was potential for us to have scored a couple more goals, before half time. And yes, we did sit back in the second half, but it's difficult to criticise the players, so I'm not gonna start doing that. But this is a results game. And this is why I said the other day that if I was Eddie Howe, I would be banging on that door saying, I need reinforcements. I need them. And Pete rightly, and this will be interesting if this goes anywhere, but Pete rightly is saying, what he was talking about before about players being, dead on the feet. That if you've got fit players on the bench, yes, they're not the same quality, but if you're running your players into the ground, people are going to start asking questions because you've got there are options on the bench. Yes, they're not of the same quality, but there are options on the bench, and it could be that you need to put a little bit more trust in these players. Whether he's playing a game, I don't know. In terms of with the ownership, with Darren Eales, with Dan Ashworth as if to go, I can't make subs because I can't use these players, and he's forcing them into a corner. I don't know. Because if he kept using these players, and let's say we were getting, not saying he's purposely not trying to get results, but what I mean is, if he was using these players and it wasn't quite happening, and maybe he would have, maybe there will be a bit of pushback, and he'd go, well, you're making your subs, you must trust them, or you wouldn't put them on the pitch. Is that why he's not putting them on the pitch? Because he's literally saying, I can't put these players on because if I do, it's going to be worse. We're just going to fall apart. I don't know, but I do find it odd that he's just refusing to even look at the bench, and you're getting one sub a game. If Tino was on the bench, I think Tino would have come on. But other than Paul, I didn't even think anyone else was going to come on. We haven't even mentioned Emil Kraft. Emil Kraft, since he's come back from his injury, has been solid. Emil Kraft could have done that job tonight.
Just to follow up as well, because I see Dom has put a comment in here as well. He says, "How has spent 400 million on players? How many transfer windows does he need?" But you're forgetting that we were 20th when Eddie Howe came in. He got us to the Champions League. We were so unlucky not to qualify for the next round of the Champions League. Injuries have meant that we've tumbled down the table. we will pick it up. We've always said as well. We think that we'll pick it up in the second half of the season. Hasn't happened yet, but just give it a chance. I don't see why we try to thinking about getting rid of Eddie Howe now.
This squad didn't need minor surgery. This squad needed an overhaul. This squad, like from top to bottom. Even today, as we were talking about squad games, didn't we? Which might be coming out soon, by the way. We were talking about squad games. We could probably list now off the top of our heads that there's 12, 13, 14 players that we know aren't good enough to be a top six in a top six side. Some of them aren't even good enough to be in the Premier League. So, and as Dom says there, we've spent 400 million. We still probably need to spend another 300 million, 400 million.
Which is City spent.
Yeah, this is it. This is it, and this is
in different times.
We've got. Yeah, because we haven't been a Liverpool, a Man United, a Tottenham, and Arsenal, Chelsea, where they've gradually year on year improved. This is us now suffering for all those years under Mike Ashley, where we've just been handing out contracts, keeping players who shouldn't even be in the squad, and now we're suffering for it. We're paying for it. And FFP is stunting our growth, and it's meaning that we can't do things as quickly as we want. But that's kind of the position that we're in. The whole squad needs an upheaval. Yes, we're nearly, we've made big inroads. I mean, as Daz rightly says, he come in and we're bottom of the league, and we've gone into the Champions League. But as soon as you take out a clutch of those players, which is what we've seen this season, this is why we're struggling. And then when you're playing the same 11 time after time after time, because he doesn't trust who's on the bench, we then burn out. You see fatigue. You see, mental fatigue. It's too much for the players. They need a break, and they need help. Like Pete said earlier, they need help. We need more people in.
Everyone is entitled to their opinion as well.
Yeah.
And after a game as well, it's probably not the best time to...
Emotions are high, aren't they?
Yeah, as well. So it's all understandable, no matter what side you're on. Eddie Howe side or not Eddie Howe side.
Paul Spragg says 9 points out of the last 10 games is shocking. Relegation form in desperate needs for players back. Yeah, I think that's a given. I'll move on from that. Bruyne possibly suffered hamstring injuries, according to Chris Watt.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he has suffered a hamstring injury, if he has, I'm sorry, that's another finger point to Eddie Howe, if he has, because if the reason that the sub was going to be made was because he was struggling or he felt something, yes, maybe Bruno's gone, yeah, I'm fine, I'll play on. Bruno's going to fight for the cause, of course he is. But if Bruno's ended up injuring himself and he's been run into the ground, again, sometimes it's like with the head injuries, isn't it? When a player gets a head injury and they go, I'm fine. And then the decision's taken out of the player's hands. If that's the case with Bruno and that's happened, then I don't even want to think about it. If that's true, I don't even want to think about it.
The only positive is we've got 2 weeks until the next game, until Fulham. So that's why he kind of played on. If it's like a slight strain or a little twinge, 2 weeks is more than enough to recover. But if it's one where he's pulled it, you're talking a month. We can't afford to lose Bruno for that length of time. We're going to lose him at some point. He's one yellow card away from the 2-match ban. How he's managed to get near 10 yellow cards in half a season tells its own story, and there needs to be a conversation there about his discipline. So I tell you what, his yellow card today was completely unnecessary.
It was reckless.
Rodri, I think it might have been Rodri he did the tackle on. I can't remember who it was, but the tackle that he did, on the midfielder, they were going nowhere. They were going.
I think it was Kovacic, Pete. I think it was Kovacic.
May well have been. I think I'm on about the foot. I think I was
the foot stamp.
Rodri in my mind because I think about the foot stamp, which could quite have easily been a yellow card. Had Man City not had advantage from the back of it, I think the ref played on. But look, we're going to be without him at some point anyway. That's for sure. But yeah, hopefully that's not the case. Case Ball UK, hope you're well. When will Howe learn? Team overloads midfield, and Howe just watches Liverpool, West Ham, Wolves, PSG away, Forest and now Man City in the last 20 minutes. And he also says, man mark KDB when he comes on with Lascelles or Kraft. Okay, we talked about that as well. So you're on the same page. Instead of him 20 yards or giving him 20 yards. Game management is zero with how real owners will change him soon enough if this, I think, I'd say, continues. What are your thoughts, boys?
Well, it's a fair enough point. This week as well, that isn't Darren Eales come out and said that they're fully behind Eddie Howe. I think they have to give him for the players to come back and see what happens for the rest of the season. Maybe even look at it in the summer. But I think I can see him getting next season as well. But I'm not anywhere near the Eddie out camp at all. So, but I can see what their frustrations are.
Chris?
I think unfortunately, when you're getting so many defeats and so many results aren't going your way, questions start being asked, and the first person that they get asked of is the manager. Unfortunately for Eddie Howe, I like Daz. I'm not Eddie Howe out in any stretch, but I am. It's like when we had Rafa. I was warned by many Liverpool fans. Rafa's very stuck in his ways. He's very tactical, very defensive, and all that. And even though I absolutely adored Rafa had his flaws, and I knew what his flaws were. I still loved him, and I still didn't want him to leave, and I still wanted him to come back initially. But he has his flaws, and I suppose what I would say is I think we're all starting to see potentially what Eddie Howe's flaws are, because we've all kind of been in this dreamland and everything's been going perfect and it's all worked out brilliantly. And I love Eddie Howe for that, and we have been fantastic. And since he's come into the club, he's been absolutely brilliant. But nobody's perfect, and he's still got learning to do. And he's now playing at a level that he's not used to playing at as a manager. And at times, I have questions some of his decision making, and today being one of them. I'm sitting at home and I'm watching the match, and he's got a far better view than me, and he's far more intelligent than me, and knows far more about football than me. But if I can see that Kevin De Bruyne is coming on the pitch and he's starting to dictate the game, and himself and Rodri are just running the show in midfield, I'm thinking, why can't he see that? Why can't he? I feel sometimes like he's so rigid in his 4-3-3. It's like, no, we don't move from 4-3-3. That's just how we play. And sometimes, given the opposition, given the changes that are tweak, or the changes that are made in game, or the tweaks that are made in game, sometimes you've got to adapt to them. And sometimes I think he's either slow to adapt to them, or he doesn't adapt to them at all.
Lads, I'm going to throw something else at you, because I'm just looking at the next 5 games, right? And the question is, does your own personal opinion change, or does our collective thoughts change on this? If we don't pick up some wins in the games against Fulham in the Cup, Villa in the league, Luton Town, and that's Forest and Bournemouth on the revenge tour, that's the next 5 games. Are we then still back in Eddie, or are we starting to get doubts then at that stage? Let's say we were to not pick up a win in either of the next 5 games.
I'll let you go first, Pete. Go on, mate.
I'm not willing to make that sort of a assessment until the end of the season. I want to see where we finish. Purely, I'm not going to make that assessment off the back of this month. We knew this was going to be a tough month. I'm frustrated that we didn't take advantage of potentially getting a point. And I've said what I needed to say off the back of that, but I'm not willing to make that assessment of whether he's capable of taking us forward until the end of the season. I want to see where we finish. A lot of football still to be played. I fully expect us to be picking up a huge chunk of points from February onwards. I expect us to. And if we don't, and we finish around where we are right now, then I think that's more than fair of a question to be asked about Eddie Howe at that stage. in my opinion, because he would have had a full season playing one game a week. And if we're not able to pick up enough points off the back of that to really push us up the table, because let's face it, you look at that league table right now, that's tight. We're still right in the mix. We might be 10th in the league right now, but we are still right in the mix there. And it doesn't look good reading right now. And you've got other teams, you've got like you got like other teams, whether it's Arsenal, Chelsea, whatever, West Ham, that are saying, "Oh, look where Newcastle are," and that's fine. But it can change very quickly, and I'm expecting it to change very quickly. So, with regards to that, Eddie Howe, no, I'm not going to make that assessment now. But certainly, if you look at the next 5 games, I expect us to at least take 9 points. Where those 9 points come from, that's up to you. Anybody can decide that, but I fully expect us to at least take 9 points. And I think we take 9 points out of our next lot of games. I don't think we're sitting 10th, but that's just my opinion.
So are you saying people are going to win 3 out the 4?
League games.
Of the league, yeah, I'm not talking about the cup.
Yeah.
In terms of league games, okay, so we've got Villa, Luton, Forest, Bournemouth.
Do you think we win them last 3 on the bounce?
I think we have to.
Oh no, I agree. We do have to.
We are no longer in a position now to say, I take a point. I take a point here. I take a point there. For Luton, Forest, and Bournemouth, we're not in that position to say that. They are must-win games. We need to take 3 points. We need to have 9 points on the board. Villa away, I would love to say, we go there and win. But we know how formidable they are at their ground. So I'm not going to be naive enough to go, we'll win. We're going to win comfortably. We're going to give them like a hammer in or whatever, this, that, and the other. I think we'll make it difficult for them. I think it'll be a tight game, a lot tighter than it was last season. But look, what I will say is that that's not a banker win. For me, Luton at home, must win. Forest away, must win. Bournemouth at home, must win. That's how I see it.
Chris, your thoughts on that one? Next 5 games?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the next 5 games, I think if we get knocked out against Fulham, that cranks up the pressure a little bit, because then the fan base comes to the realization that we won't be winning any silverware this season. That sounds very dramatic, I know, because we're only we're only in the early stages of the FA Cup, but it is a reality. You know what I mean? Like 4th round of the FA Cup, it's a reality. We're not going to be winning any silverware, so I think that cranks the pressure up a little bit, especially after the emphatic win against Sunderland. Villa away is going to be a very difficult game. Luton at home, it is must win. Forest away is must win, and Bournemouth at home is must win. I completely agree with Pete. We do need to win those games. My only difficulty, I suppose, or my devil's advocate thing is, I wonder where that puts Eddie Howe with the fan base if we don't win all 3 of those games. I think if we got a point at Villa, I think that would be a good result. On our day, we could win, but it's going to be difficult. Let's be honest. Villa are flying at the moment, and they're going to be a really difficult outfit. And I think Eddie will get a bit of a pass for that one. So then, obviously, we hit February, and then we've got Luton at home. That you can't not win that game. You've got to win that game. I think Forest will be a difficult test, because obviously, at the City grounds, Morgan Gibbs White, Forest aren't a bad side. We've seen that this season. They're really not a bad side. And obviously we were on the back end of a pretty rough defeat last time we played them. So it's not going to be easy. But I suppose my devil's advocate side of things is saying, if Eddie Howe gets knocked out the cup, beats Luton, and then loses to Forest, and then maybe draws with Bournemouth, it makes things difficult for them. It really, really makes things difficult for them. And the remaining home games that we've got this season are so key. And if we maintain the performance that we did today, because we're not going to be coming up against Man City and Kevin De Bruyne every week, but we need to start getting the points on the board. We really, really do. And I think the real assessment will be made at the end of the season. Like, I agree with that, but I just wonder whether the noises and the how out brigade will get louder and louder. And then I think the owners will feel under pressure. And then the owners will have a decision. If we have a quiet window for January, the owners have then got a decision going, do you know what? We're having a big overhaul this summer. Is Eddie the man that we want to do that overhaul? Is Eddie the man we want to take us forward? This is the difficulty.
If they want Eddie to be the man to take them forward, they would link him back to what Pete was saying. They have to do something to help him out. They have to at least bring in one or two loans to try and help him. We will have players going back, but look, there's some players that you get to the end of the road. Oh, they should be back now, and now they're out for another couple of weeks. So it's unknown how long they're going to be out for. It's the recurring theme with that as well. So they do need to help him out a bit, because I think it is going to get more difficult, and as things go, if we don't get some kind of results in those next 5. But okay, let's move back to the chat. Sorry, bit of a tangent there.
No, good one, Taz. It was good.
Next one from Ron. If we had Barnes to bring on when Gordon had really something to the ground, Willock, Miley, maybe Tino, the result would have been different. We've already kind of touched on that one as well. Silence is Lovely says we were phenomenal. They can bring on Kevin De Bruyne, we can't. That's why they win. But we had them for most of that match. Would you agree with that assessment?
No.
We had them for most of it.
Sorry, Silence is Lovely. No, I don't agree with that. I mean, we had an opportunity to get something out of the match. I completely agree with that. You know, there was an opportunity for us there, but let's not paper over the cracks. We were outclassed for the majority of this game. We showed moments of brilliance, and had we had those players, that was mentioned in the previous comment by Von, the game could have been a lot different. But as Pete said earlier, and I can't disagree, that's not the situation we're in at the moment. We're just not.
Yeah, when we were 2-1 up and we got halfway through that second half, I was thinking, they're definitely going to score one, and I'd be delighted now at this stage to take the 2-2, because it was definitely coming to scoring one. It's what's hard to take is the again, how many times and now then the PSG result as well. The last second or the last couple of minutes, it's the sucker punches, and that's why a lot of people are frustrated now as well in the chat, and I'm sure on social media there's a bit of frustration. But it's Man City we're playing as well, so we don't. I thought
the players were phenomenal. I thought the players were. The players give everything. Yeah. Can't knock the players, because the players on the pitch give everything that they could. Yes, they were outclassed at times. They were outran at times in the end, because we just ran out of energy. We had no energy left. But yeah, there was an opportunity for us there, and circumstances prevailing. Maybe on another day we could have got something, but I do think the manager has to take a bit of the blame here, because I think changes could have been made to maybe protect the team a little bit more.
Question here from Sean Taylor. Why has Longstaff's form dipped so much?
He hasn't played great lately. I didn't think he played too bad today or anything. We were talking about him for playing for England at one stage, even this season, and definitely last season we were talking about it. But I don't know. Again, too many games with the same personnel, not being able to switch it out. I think it goes across the board.
Yeah, I think he's tired. I think he's probably in need of a rest. I think the Champions League run was probably mentally fatiguing, not just physically. It's been a long season. I mean, it's been a long season, boys, and it's only January. Like it does feel like we've been through the mill. We've had all the highs, all the lows. It has been a long season, and because we've been doing it with the same bloody players week in, week out, imagine how the players are feeling, putting blood, sweat, and tears into everything, and then just getting tired. I just think the squad's not big enough, and there is reasons for that. But yeah, I do think in part that could be why Sean Longstaff hasn't quite reached the heights that we've seen previously.
Rosie has come up with a comment as well. The chat seemed to like it as well. No other manager can get more out of the available squad than Eddie. Fact.
I think that's Rossi. I was looking to see.
Rossi.
Looking to see if that looked like a Rosie.
Sorry, Rossi. Not wearing my glasses.
No other manager can get more out of the available squad than Eddie. Yeah, I can't really argue that. But I do think that the squads. Could potentially be managed better. I know he's not got the players that he wants. I think that's evidence because he doesn't use all of the players, and I understand why. Because I think if he did use all the players and he was giving more players more minutes, we'd then come unstuck, and everyone would go, "Why is he bringing him on? Or why has he bought him off? Or why?" I get that, but Eddie, Eddie knows the position he's in. We know the position we're in, but you can't just keep playing the same players over and over and over again. Something's got to give, whether that's the owners giving him new players or whether that's him trying to manage certain players' minutes a little bit better. Because it was clear to see today that we just needed more energy on the pitch towards the end of the game.
It's all rosy with Rossi.
Yeah.
You can't continue to keep making the same mistakes.
No.
So he played players for 90 minutes when we didn't have any other options before, and players have now come out and said that they were playing injured. Callum Wilson said it this week on his podcast. Dan Burns said it before. Alexander Isak said it in a previous interview too. So we've been playing players injured when they shouldn't have been playing. Now you started to get your players back fit, or they're close to being back fit. Don't make the same mistake again. I think it's more than a fair point to say that if you don't want your players to then be re-injured again, for some of them a third or fourth time, just bring another player on, another fit player that's ready to play. I think that's where Newcastle fans or a number of fans have changed their mindset. Nobody would have been angry at the fact that Lewis Miley literally was dead out on his feet. Nobody was arguing the fact that Gordon had come off because he ran and pressed and defensively ran and covered so much ground in that game. Nobody could have argued that Isak could have done with the rest, because Isak for 60 minutes was fantastic, was superb, scored a brilliant goal and was a massive threat, but needed a rest. Nobody would have argued that, because we knew the situation that we've just come through. So why make the same mistakes again? That's my question on the back of that. But look, that's probably for another time.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a quote, Pete. We have no choice, no real subs. 2 weeks off. Leave it all on the pitch. Look, that was a quote.
Yeah, I know the quote.
It is where it is.
Toon Gamer says Eddie's game management shocking again. Had subs available to waste time, slow their momentum. Should have gone 5 at the back. All these things is what we've talked about. Should have put someone to man mark Kevin De Bruyne. I just wanted to get those points out there because it's points that we have mentioned too. Senk said, if Isak plays with 2 quality wingers and a quality midfielder serving him, well, he will be Newcastle and Premier League history. So I'm assuming in terms of goal scoring, I imagine, or he would certainly be up there. I think. Would you agree with what Senk's saying here?
Yeah, I would. Isak is quality, and he's long way he be with us, and someone I never want us to sell. And yeah, we are where we are with this. It's going to take time. It's a stepping stone season, as I've said for a couple of months now, and I'm already looking forward to next season. See what happens this season, but looking forward to next season and the summer transfer window.
Okay, definitely. Ian B. This game just solidified that Gordon and Foden need to be in the England squad and playing starting over Rashford. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, definitely. Marcus Rashford shouldn't be in the England squad on current form.
Question from Ian. Loaded, would you sell Bruno for 100 million to bring in 3 players with the money?
Yeah, we've talked about this a few times, definitely. I don't want us to sell our star players, and I don't think that's what Darren Eales mentioned, and Eddie qualified it a bit in his press conference as well. I don't think we're selling Botman, Bruno, or Isak. There are players, and Gordon as well, or Tino Livramento. There's certain players that I would look to sell or to cash in on their value while they still have value, or else they're going to be, they're just going to be sitting there. And it can't all happen at once either. I know that, but no, I don't want to answer your question, Ian. No, there's others that we can sell to generate that kind of cash, or FFP, unlock FFP.
Yeah. I think I've got a good answer for this now, because I must have spoken about this loads, and that's no offense, Ian. It's just this has been a hot topic about, well, in the last week or so, certainly. But yeah, for me, I wouldn't want to sell Bruno, but I think if the owners sold Bruno, I'd understand it, but I don't want them to. But I would understand it, because it would unlock FFP, as Daz has said. It would. I don't want them to, but I would get it if they did.
Would you? Hold on 1 second. I've just lost it now. Would you take Grant Kowal back in the squad to use as a sub?
Yeah, I'd take anyone. We just need fresh legs. We do. I mean, is Grant Kowal a better option than Mark Gillespie on the bench? Yes. Is he a better option? Is he a better option than Parkinson on the bench? Probably. It's just another body, and we need bodies. That's what we need. We need players who are fit and able to kind of make a contribution. So yeah, I would. I'm not saying he's Premier League ready. I'm not saying that he should be starting week in, week out. But right now, for where we are, I think we've heard, haven't we, from journalists? I forget which one it was, saying that keep an eye on Jan Cooper Minter. There's no definite that he will stay at Feyenoord. It could be that we just bring him back. We need some players in to try and support this squad. That's what we need.
Yeah, I get the point that he's another option instead of Gillespie, but I don't think he's ready for the Premier League. I don't know how he's doing. I don't think it's how it's really going for him out in Holland. Yeah, that team towards the bottom of the table in Holland. But yeah, no, I think I'd let him. I think he needs game time more than anything else. So I wouldn't bring him back. But we need some alternatives. But that's where the loan market comes in. Players that Eddie would trust to bring on in games or to start in games. That's what we need. I think Kroll will just sit like everyone else. He wouldn't be. He'd be another bench warmer.
Yeah. Would be Farmer said, "Chin up, boys. We'll be fine." I think he's talking about us in the chat. Great to have you in the chat. We've had 12 or 13 new subscribers tonight just on the show alone. So welcome all to Loaded Mag NUFC. If you haven't already clicked the subscribe button or click the like for this show, make sure you do. We are moving nicely towards 7K and help us along to achieve that one. Question here. Would you lads be content with us sacrificing any European place and just concentrating on the FA Cup?
It's a great question, that.
I don't think we have to sacrifice anything though, because we don't have, we're not in Champions League anymore. We're not in the League Cup anymore. It's just FA Cup and League. So what's we've played now, 21 games in the league. So we have 17 left, and whatever happens in the cup happens in the cup. I know what you're asking, Michael, but no. I want us to go on both fronts now. You should be able to do that.
What are your thoughts, Chris?
It's a tough one, mate. It's a tough one, Because if someone said to me now, you get knocked out the FA Cup by Fulham, but you get in Europe next season, which I think is key. Like that's a big question. But then if someone said to me, you're not going to get Europe, but you're going to win the FA Cup, it's like, this is the problem, isn't it? You don't know what the final outcome's going to be. But I take your point, Daz. You know, it is just these two competitions, isn't it? There's nothing else. I sound like Ian Beale now. Got nothing else.
We were in 4, and Eddie Howe tried to go for all. He never like, he wouldn't be allowed to do that. So I know it's a hypothetical question you're asking here, Michael, but yeah. I think we have to we have to have enough to go for both. It's like, when's the next FA Cup game after the Fulham game? No, I can't see it here, but it's probably in February sometime. I see there a gap.
What about you, Pete?
I don't know.
No, I think we can go for both, to be honest. We were trying to juggle 4 competitions before that. There's no reason why we can't juggle the Premier League and the FA Cup. No reason whatsoever. It's another game I fully expect us to go and win, and that's Fulham away. Because we don't have the huge round of fixtures. We've got 2 weeks now before that game at Fulham. I fully expect us to go full strength and win that game, and then I fully expect us to go on to Villa and give them a good game as well. We're in this position now where, you know, if you're getting the rest and you're getting your players fit and you're able to train them, which is what Eddie Howe says, I then expect Newcastle to put those performances in. And for the first half we did today. It dropped off. We played a very different way. But with now 2 weeks rest, these players cannot then say they're fatigued or tired or whatever. And hopefully we can then be going in and adding a couple of more players to the squad, either through signings or having Wilson, Murphy back, which is what Eddie Howe kind of is hoping for and expecting around that sort of time. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Just on that, like, if we were to, if and when we beat Fulham, the 5th round would happen between the Arsenal and the Wolves game. That's when that would land, around the 28th of February.
Yeah, which is around the Carling Cup final weekend, I imagine. Something on that. Question for Loaded: if we sign a player in Jan, realistically, who would be your pick? Interestingly, there's some pictures and videos of Lascelles having a bit of a chat with Phillips on the sidelines, which has set some tongues wagging. Get him in now is what I've said. Get that deal done. Get him in. Get him training with the squad. Get him playing. He's clearly not trusted at Man City for whatever reason. But so that would be my pick. But boys, what would you go for?
Same Phillips. I think he's the most realistic one, and I think he's the one that I can think off the top of my head that would have the biggest impact. You could say Garassi, who we've been linked with. I think he'd be a good addition as well. But if you've got a fit Alexander Isak, yes, it would be nice to have an option. But the one that I think would make the biggest difference to me now, thinking about it, is Phillips.
I'd agree on Phillips. That defensive midfielder. But I'm going to throw someone different in as well. Benjamin Sissoko or Sesko. Sesko, whatever you call him. That lad. Because he's not getting a game or getting enough game time at Leipzig, and because he was so highly rated when he moved there, and someone we looked at before, I think get him on loan with an option to buy would be nice.
It's a great shout, Daz. Yeah, especially if he's not getting game time, as you say.
Yeah,
great shout. Yeah.
Someone that's realistic is like, you know, where do you start if you're not being realistic?
Hamza Chowdhury.
Yeah, look, again, we laugh at that, but that's where we were.
Yeah, it was.
Like, that's why we can laugh now. That's where we were. Look how far we've come, and look what is to come in the future, no matter who is the manager.
Yeah.
Last couple. Question from Ian. Do you see Eddie Howe being Newcastle manager February the 1st when the transfer window closes?
Yes.
Nice, easy one, yes.
Just asking if Newcastle fans would want Xabi Alonso and sack Eddie Howe. So if you had the option of getting him in, it was guaranteed, would you do that? What's your thoughts?
Xabi Alonso is doing really well at Leverkusen. He's a nice squad of players there as well. But okay, it's way too early to. I'd only consider alternative managers once Eddie Howe was gone. I won't consider them until then.
Yeah, I wouldn't sack Eddie Howe and then to get Alonso.
No.
But yeah, given I think his name would crop up, because Newcastle's a big project. I'm sure he'd want to come back to the Premier League. And everyone keeps replaying that half-line goal he scored against Newcastle, even though nobody talks about the fact that Steve Harper slipped, but nobody wants to talk about that. They just say how fantastic the goal was. But yeah, he's doing really well at Leverkusen, and good luck to him. But yeah, I think we've got Eddie for the foreseeable, is what I'd say.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if that was to ever happen and Eddie Howe was gone, that they could just bring in the best out there, and someone that has a track record of success. Xabi Alonso is just starting off early days in his management career, so yeah, it's who knows what they'd look at, but that's well down the road for now.
Yeah.
Last question from me, Stu. Hope you're well, Stu. Great to have you back in the chat. And what do we think of Phillips' celebration after the game? Didn't look like a player in the move. As much as I agree that the player we 100% need right now.
Easy one for me. I turned it off as soon as the final whistle. I turned it off.
If that's what's happened, Stu, I've got to admit I didn't see it, but I don't look into stuff like that, because to me, I think that's the way that he should react, because at the end of the day, he's a Manchester City player and his team have just won. So for me, while he's still got a Man City tracksuit on and while he's still a Man City player, he should be celebrating the fact that they've beaten Newcastle. That's the right thing to do. I have no doubt if he comes to Newcastle and if he joins Newcastle, as soon as he joins Newcastle United, his allegiance will switch, and I'm sure he will be fully focused on Newcastle United. I wouldn't read too much into that, mate. For me, it just shows that he's a model professional, because do you know what? I think I would not like it if I saw him sulking when Man City won, because I think, do you know what? They're your teammates. You're part of that team, and you should be pleased at the fact that your team's won, whether or not he's contributed or played or whatever. It's about the team. So the fact that he's celebrating wildly, that I quite like that, to be honest, because that's how it should be. What you don't want to see is players sulking because they never got a game or they didn't get enough minutes or whatever. It's about the team. It's not about you as an individual. So for me, I'm quite happy that he's done that, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I don't really care, to be honest. I only care when he's playing for the club, and he's not as of yet. So we'll wait and see. But there were the questions.
No, thanks, Pete. We're going to give a quick shout out to sponsors. Shout out to the radiatorshed.com and Russ and Russ's Rads. And if you know all about the radiators at this stage and where to find Russ, go check out the website. Is my recommendation, and you'll see all the details there. Just a quick little sample. And those radiators are small. The real ones are bigger. But also to shout out to the Northeast Partnerships, the Install Works, and also shout out to Bathroom Design Co. H2O and the fabulous bathrooms that the team have there. Again, go check out the website. That is my suggestion to get all the latest and greatest from the team there. Right. Also, where can you find us? You can find us across a range of different platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music and Amazon Music, and on our socials on Twitter/X, TikTok, and Insta. And for business inquiries, you can contact us on loadedmagnufcinfo@gmail.com. Check that out. That is it. We need to have a little chat about what we're going to do next and what our plans for into next week. But thanks for sticking with us. Make sure you smash that like button on the way out. And that's about it. Enjoy your Sunday. How'd you like that? Good night.
How you like